Hello and welcome to another episode of the Investor Financing Podcast. And I'm your host, Beau. And today we have a great guest. We're bringing in an investor-friendly real estate agent. He also runs a large group called Next Level Agents, which helps real estate agents grow their business in many different ways. So Keven is a real estate agent, investor, and entrepreneur. In 2008, he co-founded one of the nation's most successful teams, averaging over 100 million in sales for the last decade. The group 4610 Network. He is the host of the Keven and Fred show and co-founder of the Next Real Estate Mastermind, Next Level Agents. And then Next Level Agents is a community of real estate professionals who collaborate to grow their business to the next level. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks a lot, Beau. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me here.
So you're based in the Arizona market. I was looking. You have team members in other states. So are you is your brokerage powered by EXP? Is that kind of the business model you have?
It is now, yeah. We actually were. I spent the first 11 years of my career at Keller Williams Realty, and it was back in 2014 when we first expanded outside of our home market in Phoenix out to Denver, Colorado.
Nice. And so you've been with EXP for how long now?
Since June of 2018, so just over 3.5 years now.
And what was like the move? I see a lot of agents moving to EXP and growing teams. Is it because you can grow teams like nationally? Is that the appeal? And just the virtual, just the kind of digital presence that EXP has?
You know, at the time, my mindset was the virtual non-franchise system made our life a whole lot easier, right? So part of the problem that we ran into operating in multiple markets was things that you don't think about, like advertising laws and rules and stuff that we have to deal with the Department of Real Estate, cost and fees in a franchise system. Just they get to be too high when you've got agents in multiple markets like we did. So initially that was part of it, or I would even say the lion's share of it. And the fact that the company appeared to be very, I would say, entrepreneurial based and looking for people to kind of come in and lead and help grow, that definitely appealed to us as well. So there was a whole bunch of factors. One of it was just we were leaving Keller Williams regardless, and then we eventually found our way over to EXP, and at that they kind of met our core. Sort of our core needs and have-to-haves in a new brokerage.
When I was years ago, I think I made a mistake. My core business is lending, but I also in California, I'm a California real estate broker. And in like 2000, what was it? I can't even remember the year. I would say it's like 2008 or something like that. 2010, maybe 11 or 12. I can't remember exactly, but it was when EXP had like 800 agents. And they were looking, it must have been it was either two, I think I got my California broker's license in 2007 or 8. So it was like 9, 10 or when they had 800 agents, and they were looking for a corporate broker for California. And I was busy with my lending business, but I was like, I don't know how I got introduced. And I started interviewing to be the corporate broker. And then I had it's a funny story. I had some speeding tickets on my record, and they were asking me all these questions. And I was like, I don't think I want to do this. It's like they're, beating me up. And like hindsight, fast forward how many years, 15 years later or 12 years later, they're like the biggest brokers. They have like 80,000 agents. And I was just thinking, geez, if I would have done that, what would my team have looked like at this point in my career? Because I know all these agents have built huge teams and they have huge recurring revenue. And I'm just like kicking myself that I didn't pursue that. But, hindsight's 2020. But yeah, it's been an amazing journey to watch the brokerage grow, and they just keep on growing and growing and growing. And I think to your point, it's created like more of the entrepreneurial space, the creatives, the people that are like successful, but really want to do things their way in a sense. And that's what I think EXP has really catered to. And then also, I was watching your previous, one of your podcasts where you interviewed that investor-friendly agent lady. I can't think of her name.
Jennifer Beatles.
Yep. Yeah, I want to get her on the show too. That was a really good interview. I'm halfway done, but I think like the EXP model really can create like the investor friendly model, like because all my my experience is really in the investor space. So I like that. And then it's the traditional brokerage as well. So what is your, like when you came to EXP and now you're like, have this ability to grow in other states and cities, how did your team grow? Was it just kind of like people met you through like next level agent and they liked your marketing and they wanted to join the team? I mean, why do people want to join your team? What do you do differently in the space?
It's probably best to start with a couple like sort of some of our core beliefs, right? And if you think, this probably resonates with you, is I believe, I say I, but we, meaning my business partner and friend, and I both believe that most real estate agents have a job, not a business, right? And I also believe that agents and brokers on the ground floor, kind of doing the work, deserve a piece of the upside. Another core belief of ours is that proximity is power. And when you go back to like the podcast and the Facebook group, that's why those things are there. And we rise to the level of the people that we're surrounded by, that we spend the most time with. And so we were at KW and it was awesome. We learned a lot about sort of, if you will, the rules of engagement, built a lot of relationships back in those days, taught a lot. You were asking me offline about short sales, used to teach around the country on how to do short sales. We got time with the billionaire, got our way on stage, kind of all that stuff. But at the end of the day, we weren't actually broke. It just felt like we were broke, right? We weren't getting ahead. There was nothing there that we signed up for. And, part of what we wanted was something bigger. Like I don't want to have to sell more real estate to keep making money, right? I think that's why people buy real estate, right? Because you don't want to have to keep doing whatever your job is to be able to continue to earn the type of income that you want. So, I think a lot of it happened because we had built relationships over the years and really had done a good job of sort of being in front of people. And because we had these core beliefs and sort of this way that we sort of came up in the industry, a lot of it was very natural, and a lot of people reaching out to us. And then I don't know, about a little more than a year ago, maybe 15, 16 months ago, my business partner and I decided to get really purposeful about our revenue share, or the reoccurring piece of that. We decided to get really purposeful about that business and change the way we go about growing that, which was a big deal for us. It was really hard. We've done sort of everything very entrepreneurially and naturally, based on like those things, like having been on stage a lot, having created a Facebook group with 20,000 plus agents, and having run a podcast for a couple of years where we had built a little bit of an audience and a following, and just got a whole lot more purposeful about it. Because to your point, you talk about when you're talking to them about being the broker in California, right? The company, when we joined in June of 18, company was 12,000 agents. It's just over 76,000 agents today. It's grown a lot, and it's going to grow. It's going to double probably in the next 12 to 15 months. So when you look at the opportunity that's still there, the first 13 years, it's been awesome. And like everybody, I wish I would have been here earlier. And I look at even the next 12 to 18 months, the opportunity is as big or bigger than what I've built over the last 3.5 years. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah. So that's pretty amazing. So I was looking on your website, you have like you're based in Arizona, and then you have another team, I believe, in the Denver area.
Yep. Yeah.
And so are you actually have office there, or is it just everybody's work from home? Because I see like some people are like doing some big recruiter groups. I don't even know if I want to say it a recruiter. It's really team building. Are actually like getting their own space. Like in Oakland, I see a group that's getting, they're actually creating this whole internal model where they're getting brick and mortar space. And I thought that was interesting because it's more of a virtual concept. But what's your philosophy on that whole brick and mortar?
So I think two things. Number one is just for clarity, when I say team, I think of like my real estate sales team. So it's called, for us, it's called Group 4610, right? It's not my name on the sign or my business partner Fred's, but Group 4610. So when I say team, I mean selling homes to buyers and sellers, or for sellers and to buyers in what I'd call retail, if you will, in traditional transactions. And if I say the word group, what I mean is more of what you just described, which is not on my sales team, but in my world my downline, whatever you want to call it, at EXP, right? So as an example, you get your license, you say, hey, I want to join EXP, and maybe we got this long-standing relationship, but you're doing your own thing. Like, you've got your own sales business. Cool. Now we're aligned. I'm incentivized to help you. So when I say group, that's what I mean. When I say team, I mean actually my team's actual production, right? We happen to sell real estate in a couple cities outside of Phoenix. Not as much as we once did when we were at KW, because we've really replaced that expansion model with the EXP model, and it's been a whole lot better for us, right? So you talk about the brick and mortar. I mean, I'm sitting in my office building that I own in Tempe, Arizona. So I'm a big proponent of owning real estate, right? Not, I don't want to go own a building for a real estate brokerage, but I have no problem, say, owning a co-working space. I happen to use it, and so it's not really a co-working space. We rent a couple of our offices out to some agents, and I see that happening more and more because EXP, the company, works in the cloud or from that virtual campus. The agents, some choose to come to an office like I do, some rent office space. Other people, might work from home or whatever. Everyone's kind of got their own flavor and their own desires. So I'm all for it for the right reasons.
Yeah, and I believe, I've come from the transaction-based world my whole life. It's, like the feast or famine. Yeah, I've done well, but it's always like I got to go. It's hunter-gatherer, right? I always say it, and
Yep.
it's like it's really not the way to live because, yeah, sometimes you get these huge checks and you're like, yeah, this is awesome, and then all of a sudden you don't close a deal for 2 or 3 months, and so like I think collectively, more agents need to learn about like the idea is if you're a real estate professional, you're an agent or broker that, you're in this business because you're somewhat passionate about real estate and helping people, or some people aren't, but really I got into real estate because I wanted to own real estate. And then I think too many people just stay in the transaction lane and they look like 20 years down the road and they're only as good as their last deal. And it's like, you have to build. And I think that's why like the EXP resonates with more people, because like, you're building equity in a company.
Yeah.
And that's the key. That's the difference. And the fact is that like I felt when I was selling homes, because I have flipped houses, I've had to negotiate. It helps you as an agent, right? Like, because even on a traditional first time buyers sale, it's like you're helping these people create wealth. Like, okay, here's your first step, and maybe it's like a 20-something-year-old working professional, and you teach them about co-living, where he could rent the rooms out, or he or she could rent the rooms out and live for free, and then maybe buying a duplex and living in one unit, and like all these tools that nobody was teaching back in the day. Now, because of like podcast platforms and so forth, these things are more known, and I think you're seeing it. Like you're hearing these millennials talk about house hacking and all this stuff, which is great. So
Yep.
I'm excited for that. I'm concerned because the cost to actually live is going to be overwhelming for a lot of people. So like my philosophy now is like, I want to buy as many duplexes and fourplexes as I can, because I know I'm going to have somebody that wants to buy that in a few years to house hack, because that's the only way they're going to be able to afford a house.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny. I had that scenario a couple years ago too, where I realized the whole thing that got me interested in even becoming a real estate agent was I was lucky enough to have a mentor who, one of the very first things he taught me was like, dude, you got to have a job. Like, if you want to be a real estate investor, you're going to be working for another 5, 6, 7 years at least. And so my mindset was like, well, then I'll get a job selling real estate. So I went and got a real estate literally no thought. And then I got to real estate, selling real estate. I realized like, well, this is actually a business itself. And I learned how to do that. It was amazing, right? And I'm so thankful for that. I've been able to build a business that doesn't require me. My team will sell on average 250 to 300 transactions a year. I spend an hour a week in that business. I don't do a lot. I reach out to my sphere of influence, bring in business, but we've hired great people. We've built great systems over the years. But what I realized a couple of years ago was I forgot about that investor piece, right? And I think maybe coming to EXP was part of it for me that really helped me realize it. We bought this building, I guess just about exactly a year before we joined EXP. And then we joined EXP, and like you mentioned, the equity part, and we realized the other part of having cash flow. right? And that was a big awakening for me. And it was inside our Facebook group, Next Level Agents, where I forget what the thread was. I posted something about investing in real estate, and somebody commented, for whatever reason, it just hit me that day. She said, my mentor told me you don't get rich selling real estate, you get rich buying real estate. And for whatever it was that day, when I read that, I was like, that really hits. And so obviously I'm a big believer in having multiple income streams. I don't want my income to be dependent upon me sitting in somebody's living room, getting them to list with me. And in a way, it hasn't been for a long time. So I stepped away from that, but it's still been dependent upon my sales business. And then I've been able to add these other things like more real estate investing and the revenue share piece that we talked about, or the residual income piece from EXP. And that's, that it's helped a lot of people. It's changed a lot of lives.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think that being an investor agent is like a great business model to be, because you can, first of all, you can provide a valuable solution. If somebody's like, listen, I don't want to list my house on the market. And people often, so believe it or not, some people do not want to list a property. Maybe they're a hoarder or whatever. And just having the capability of saying, okay, well, we can buy your house from you. Obviously as a broker, we have certain relationships and laws and things that we have to abide by, but we can have a transparent conversation with a seller and say, yes, like, okay, if you were to go put this on the market, this is what it's going to look like. This is probably where your net's going to be, versus just selling it to an investor off market. And for whatever reason, some people just say, hey, listen, I'll take a little bit of a haircut to not have people go through my house.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to sell it as is. And right now, I mean, there's the real estate market's so hot right now, but at some point things will change a little bit, depending on the markets. I mean, there's very low inventory right now. So, I guess the thing is like, because I was I experienced 2007, 8, 9, and I owned a lot of real estate at the wrong time. That always kind of stays in the back of my mind, versus the people that haven't seen that. And they're like, well, there's no way real estate's going to keep going. And like, I was just talking to my friend, he's like, I'm going to buy and I'm going to get a lot of appreciation in the next 12 months. And it's like the mindsets, they don't realize that at a blink of an eye or a snap of the fingers that, that there's some kind of economic, something could happen, and that market's going to kind of change. Now, I don't know, people are bullish on the market still, which is kind of crazy to me, because it's just like, is this sustainable for people to actually afford to buy houses at some point? Right. So
it depends if they keep adding zeros to the balance sheet. Right. I think at the end of the day, I'm not saying investing for appreciation is a bad idea. I'm no expert by any means, but I know I'm really clear on what my strength is and where I'm good. And my strength is I can wait. And the thing I believe about real estate is, it'll go up. It'll definitely appreciate over a certain period of time. That period of time might be different. So, I think where we saw people get in trouble, what I saw, because I got licensed in 07, is because they had over leveraged themselves to have all those houses, because they were thinking the same thing, like it's going to keep going up forever. And maybe it keeps going up for a lot longer. But the point is like, I'm never going into an investment I hope it goes up in the next 12 months. I'm going two things. I'm looking at, will this create me cash flow? Will someone else pay for my asset? So that way in 20, 30 years, whatever it is I need, that, it's paid for. It's probably gone up in value at that time. And then for me, like the tax piece, being able to accelerate depreciation is such a huge benefit to me, and one of the reasons why we've really picked up our purchasing of rentals. Me and my business partner and I bought 3 rental properties together last year, and goals to buy another 5 or 6 this year, and continue to do that. But I'll use the stuff I used to laugh at when I was probably younger and more aggressive. I'll use a bigger down payment to make sure it cash flows. I'll do that, right? Because I'm looking at again 20, 30 years out, and then I'm also looking at next year's taxes. And if I can be able to take advantage of that, then I'm a win. I don't care if it goes up in value in 12 or even 24 months. It doesn't matter to me, because I'm not going to sell it.
You're listening to the Investor Financing Podcast. We'll be right back after this break.
Hi, this is Beau Eckstein, host of the Investor Financing Podcast. I appreciate you checking out our channel. On this podcast, we talk about real estate, investing, financing, business lending, and acquiring and expanding your business. I'm sure you will find some videos here that will help you build your business empire. There's a lot to see. Take your time and make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Thanks again. I think a lot of agents don't understand what you were just talking about, right? They don't like invest in their careers. Like they should know about cost segregation.
Yeah.
You know, most people don't. Most people don't know that, like, hey, you could potentially, you know, what's the real estate professional status? Every real estate agent should be aligned with these tax professionals that are like up to date with what's going on. Cause I had a friend, he started buying properties in Scottsdale and Phoenix. And then I turned him on to this Airbnb course and he's just crushing it now. And then I said, hey, you should look at doing this. And here's a referral for a cost segregation guy. And then he made like 500 grand or something in his earned income business. And he bought like $2 million in properties. And like he offset a majority of his tax consequences.
Probably almost all of it. And it's so powerful, especially when you realize not only can that take away my tax burden, but it doesn't count against me for my income calculation when I want to go buy more real estate, right? And so when you look at that, we've got to make decisions at a certain point. I don't care who you are, where you're at, you've got to make decisions that aren't just about next month. You know, eventually we got to start looking 5, 10, 20 years in the future just to make sure that we're set. We're always making next month decisions. We're always going to be, like you said earlier, like chasing the next commission check, and it's feast or famine. And I get it, you got to survive, but it's also, as you pointed out, things are getting so unaffordable and things are changing rapidly. I look at, like, when you look at all of the real big money in the United States, so much of it is now going towards the asset class of single family residential rental properties. That tells me they believe in that for a long run, especially here. I'm at ground zero of it, right? Tens of thousands of homes I've seen just get snatched up by these hedge funds these homes are never coming back on the market. They will be rentals forever.
I just read an article. It said in 2021 Q4 that 1 out of 5 houses was bought by a hedge fund.
Oh yeah, at least. Yeah.
And in Arizona, it was probably like 2 out of every 5.
Oh, it's unbelievable here. Like, it's almost, if I get you, I'll see if I can get you the stats, either before we go or later. It's hard to believe how much they're actually buying.
And there was a special about it was featured Arizona, and I sent it to my buddy that's buying his properties in Arizona right now. And I can't believe like the growth Arizona. I mean, even here in Las Vegas, we're getting a lot of people moving to the deserts right now. I think people are starting to get that the deserts are probably the best place to live. I always tell people, until you experience the morning in the desert, it's the most amazing place to be. But like Arizona, I didn't realize that they're huge in the solar car space, in the semiconductor. And like the amount of growth that's happening in those, like it's going to be like, it is already a huge hub, but I mean, it's going to be like the biggest semiconductor, mecca, and the biggest solar car mecca, I think, out there. I mean, it's just creating so much job growth. More people are going to live. I'm looking at what they're doing in Buckeye. They're building this huge community. I mean, I was
just going to mention that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, Arizona is just like, I watched my friend like a year and a half ago buy this property, and I'm like, oh, you're buying this property for $520. And it was like, he's like, yeah, I'm going to Airbnb it. And then I was like, man, I think you're buying at the peak. I was thinking that in my head, and now it's worth like $720. It's gone up 200 grand in a year, which is crazy. But so I was like, what do I know? Right. Like there's obviously demand, and he keeps these things rented out like all the time. And he's on his 2 Airbnbs he just crushes it each month in Arizona. So one's close to downtown, Old Scottsdale or whatever. So it's pretty amazing to watch this all unfold. And I'm really interested to see what happens this year, because it's like inflation's up. We're having a war right now. And it's just like, this is just a weird, we just came out of COVID. I mean, this is just a weird phenomenon that we're going through. But I think the last 2 years, what helped people like ourselves is we were able to really kind of take a deep dive into our businesses and like, work on our businesses, not in our businesses per se.
Yeah.
So what do you like? Can you talk to us a little bit about like why you started Next Level Agents, and like if you're an agent and you go into the Facebook group, like, and like you do live events, can you kind of walk us through like how that evolved and what it is today?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that came about because I'm not a fan of politics. Going back to kind of some of those beliefs that I shared with you about, I believe proximity is power, right? I believe that we've got a lot to share with each other, and I'm one of those people. As hokey as that might sound, I believe that if I surround myself with really smart people, I'm going to be better for it, and hopefully have something to share back. And it was sort of with that, without the kind of the branding of, because at the time I was at Keller Williams, without the branding of Keller Williams, without the branding of any one coaching company, like let's just get a brain trust of people who, quite frankly, have nothing to sell. Yeah, that's important. That's also important to me, right? There's nothing wrong with sales. I'm in sales. I love sales, and I also don't want to constantly always be sold. And for me, it was about the same reason I started the podcast. There's so many really smart people out there doing things differently than what is normal or what is seen at their whatever their brokerage is, and they're getting no stage time, they're getting no exposure because they don't pay to be part of the coaching program, or they don't kind of follow the politics rules of that particular brokerage. And I hated that, really hated that. And so my whole goal is to expose people that are doing things differently and really smart and learn from them. And I just figured other people can learn from them too. And so that's kind of who it attracts. And that's always been the purpose of it. I think we've done an okay job at that.
That's awesome. I love that. That resonates with me. This year, I've been kind of this year, I thought, what are my goals this year? And obviously, everybody says, write your goals down, do this and that. But really, I was like, okay, this year has to be about cash flow. Like, I want to fixate on how do I create more cash flow? And then I started going, I own some prop. I used to be a flipper in the Bay Area. And then I don't love flipping, to be honest with you. Will I flip again? Yes, of course. But it's not a passion of mine. I would rather buy and hold real estate. And I like the cheaper markets. So I started going into the Midwest and Indiana. And now I'm buying a couple properties in Pennsylvania. And, I was like, how am I going to do this? I don't have any boots on the ground, any contacts. And so I started just like this guy, Brent Daniel, says, TTP, talk to people. And it's true. Like, that's what I did. So I started calling listing agents and having a real estate background, and just build rapport. And then, you find out, I just started going on Zillow as basic as it sounds. And I started calling agents on these little duplexes and fourplexes. And then it's amazing if you know how to build relationships and rapport, they're like giving you the insight about deals that aren't coming on the market and that thing. And it's like, everybody's trying to do all these fancy things to get deals. And I'm like, I'm going back to the basics of just talking to people. And then, kind of an idea I had for this podcast is another kind of playlist I want to do is called Investing In Series. Because a lot of people that live on the West Coast, for example, like to buy in the Midwest and other markets that are more cash flowing. So what I want to do is interview agents in different markets and talk to them about the market, like Tampa or wherever, like, what kind of deals are you seeing? What's the inventory? So I'm going to do like an Investing In series. Do you think that's pretty good? Because I think most people want to know, if you're going to invest somewhere else, like, why should I invest there? Who am I dealing with? Boots on the ground, do I have a good team, right? Because you have to, like, I'm buying this duplex right now, sight unseen, other than I got a home inspection, right? And like, you're relying on people that you don't necessarily, it's like the first deal. I mean, after the first deal, you're like, okay, I know, like, and trust this person, but you have to put a little faith in things because you're kind of banking on other people. So that's important of like creating these networks, like inside your Facebook group, essentially, right? Like, I'm an agent too, although I don't really practice real estate. So I could go into that group and network with people that are in different markets and build relationship. Because at the end of the day, everything is still really a relationship business.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it all comes down to that. But I really enjoy the model you have and like the unorthodox approach because, like, we still have this perceived business card of like this lady on a business card, and it's from a picture of her like 50 years ago, right? Like, and that's still like, and sometimes you still get those business cards and you're like, oh my God, is this you? Like, and I like the fact that now like real estate is like, hey, I'm going to wear a baseball cap. I'm going to wear a t-shirt because I am who I am. And if you want to work with me, this is who you get. I don't have to pretend I'm somebody else. If you want my experience. And that's kind of the vibe I get from you. I mean, I'm sure you once in a while you dress up and, you'll put up, no, okay, good. I don't either, really. Once in a while I will, depends. But it's really like, I'm who I am and you can do business with me or not. And I don't need to do business with you because I have other business, right? And like, I love that fact. That's a power move right there.
Well, it is. And I think a lot of people don't do that. By the way, some people I know, I do have some friends, like they genuinely enjoy dressing up, and that's great. But most agents I've run across aren't willing to ever draw a line in the sand like that because they don't do enough of the things that bring them business, right? And so when you're not worried about any one deal, you could just be who you are. I don't get me wrong, I like money a lot. I want to make as much of it as possible. I just want to be able to sleep at night more. And so I'm going to always be me first, and then the business decision will come secondary to that.
I love it. And so if people want to find out more about you, let's just say maybe an agent that's listening or maybe somebody that's getting their license. I don't know if you take on newer people on your team or you're really looking for more of a seasoned agent, like what meshes well on your team?
So like on our actual sales team here in Phoenix, we do hire new agents within EXP. The people that we align with mostly are more experienced agents who kind of have their own business going, but not exclusively. And so, the easiest way to find me is probably our podcast, which is really originally titled The Keven and Fred Show. So you can find that anywhere podcasts are found, or as you mentioned, the Facebook group Next Level Agents. So you can find me on Facebook or Instagram or really anywhere, or even simply, I don't love the website, but we've got another website called kevinandfred.com, and there's a contact me button there that'll just literally send an email directly to me. So whatever's easiest for people to find us at.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time. And what do you do when you're not working? What are your, are you a big reader? Are you more of an outdoorsy guy?
Both. So and let me rephrase that. I like to listen, not read as much, unless it's something I love and I want to go study. I love to spend time outdoors whenever possible. I actually just got a sauna at home about a month ago. And so I every single day, literally, I haven't missed a day at all since I got that at home, 15 to 30 minutes a day in there just to kind of decompress and relax and chill. I love that. And hang out with my family. I got 2 amazing little girls and a wife, and get to spend as much time as possible with my family and make it to the beach every once in a while.
Nice. Well, thank you so much. The 2 books I'm fixated on this year, Who Not How, audio books just like you. Who Not How is awesome.
I know Ben Hardy, one of the authors, super good guy.
Oh yeah, I like that. He just wrote that other book with I can't think of the guy's name, but
Dan Sullivan,
who's just a genius.
Yeah, Dan is.
And then I'm going old school book. I got Never Eat Alone by Keven Fariza.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I've not read that one, but yeah, I know exactly which one you're talking about.
So yeah, I like what I'm doing now. It's kind of like I get all these audio books on Audible, and I'm like, you know what? Let's not get all these books. Let's like find 2 books that you resonate with. Get them on audio first, because I don't like to read. I like to listen, and like really like resonate with it. Let it like, I want those 2 books to influence me this year. Like The Power of Just like your network with Kevin's book, Never Eat Alone, like just building relationships. And like, oftentimes we're thinking outside of our sphere, but just look at how many relationships we have right now. And I'm like, do such a poor job of like just that. If I just did that, manage those relationships, I don't need to ever go outside if I didn't want to. So it's just like these little things, but I think makes the big difference. But Keven, really enjoyed our conversation, and I know our viewers and and listeners that listen to this in the future will enjoy it. I appreciate it. Thanks for the deep dive on your business. And I love the fact that, you've created what you wanted to create and you let it evolve into what it is. And you are who you are.
Yep.
And you're kind of a creative type guy like myself. And so there is, because I always just don't want to be a transactional person. I want to be do what I want to do, still make money. I like money, but also I don't want to and my job is first time home buyer, sell as many houses as I can. It's just not the way I like it. It's relationship based selling, and I like what you're doing. So appreciate your time so much.
Yeah, man, no problem. I appreciate, thanks for having me on, Beau.
All right. And thanks to everybody for watching.